I'd like to apologize to everyone in advance for this. Check, please.
So I want to say right out the gate that I don't hate this movie. Keep that in mind as we move forward, because it's going to get harder and harder to believe that. But yeah, I really don't. Far from it, actually. I mean, it's a pretty decent film that I think was made by people with a lot of love and passion for their craft. And a lot of reviewers whose opinions I genuinely respect gave this movie some high praise, and far be it for me to say that they're wrong. I mean, I was also planning on giving it a great review, right up until I actually thought about it and started writing. If you're someone who enjoyed this movie, I mean, that's great. It's good that you enjoyed it. I just didn't. Unfortunately, this movie just didn't do it for me, and I'd like to take some time to break down exactly why. As with my usual format, I'm going to scoot through the plot beat by beat, stopping to make my observations along the way, so just be aware for some ending spoilers. Our movie opens with the titular Mitchell. It's fun to say. Titular Mitchell. Titular Mitchell, 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 where was I? Anyway, our movie opens with the titular Mitchell family trying to escape a horde of robots, while our main character, Kate, narrates via voiceover and introduces us to each of the characters. This is where my heart starts to sink for a little bit, so let's rip into this for a second. See, we learned through this introduction that our main character is a film buff who got into movies because she never really felt like she belonged with her peers, and as much as I want to relate to that, for obvious reasons, I am so tired of this character.
I've always felt a little different than everyone else.
Not in this movie in particular. I'm tired of this character in general. Isn't it telling that the quirky loner who doesn't fit in is literally the only main character in just about every movie aimed at the late teens to young adult audience? Have you figured out why? It's not because no one relates to that feeling, it's because everyone relates to that feeling. It's tired and it's overdone, and it's a cliche that only continues to limp along because it applies to just about 90% of the population because we all want to feel like we're part of something special by not being a part of the normal. I just feel like by now, as an audience, we should realize that not belonging is part of the human experience. It's a good thing.
Nobody exists on purpose. Nobody belongs anywhere. Everybody's gonna die.
Part of what makes life worth living, especially now that I just shot all of my integrity in the foot by including an unironic Rick and Morty quote in my review, which is basically credibility murder. Anyway, I just spent 2 paragraphs on the first 30 seconds of this movie, so let's move on before I get distracted by something else. During this opening, we also meet Kate's younger brother, who's obsessed with dinosaurs and whose voice feels completely incongruous to his look, and it caught me really off guard when I first heard it.
Hi, would you like to talk to me about dinosaurs?
It's just a really weird casting decision. There's also the mom, and she's the mom. She's every animated movie mom. She's bubbly and optimistic and seems to fluctuate between overbearing and detached as the script needs, as well as being the voice of reason between the dad and the kids. And she spends most of the movie being secretly ashamed of her family and only learns not to seek outside validation by getting validation from the mom of the family she's jealous of. And isn't that just a wonderful moral? Lastly, there's the dad. And if you've seen any movie in the last few years, you already know who he is. He seems like he tries to be a good dad. He's a good provider, and he clearly cares deeply about his family and wants them to share his interests as an outdoorsman. He just doesn't want to also be expected to share their interests and sees what they like as a waste of time and what he likes as the only thing worth liking. He also has the most baffling character intro I've ever seen. Yeah, no, I didn't change that. That's how it is in the movie. This brings me to my second issue with this film. It doesn't ever really stop having these moments where everything's interrupted for half a second so they could do a weird lolcat cutaway that involves the funny because random attitude of early 2000s internet humor. And in its defense, it does it quite well, but the sudden loud noises and bright lights that are constantly cutting into whatever's going on screen just gave me this feeling of someone jingling keys in my face and expecting my jaw to drop in sheer delight. Okay, I am 500 words in and we haven't even reached the end of the first scene. This is going great. Side note, challenge yourself to predict what Katie is going to say at the end of her monologue. I guarantee you'll get it right because it's so easy to see coming. I did it on accident while watching this movie. Anyway, it turns out Kate has just been accepted to film school in LA, and she's really excited about going because her roommates are the only people in the entire world who understand her. Yeah, we're going with that old chestnut. And if you saw this girl and immediately guessed that she was going to be Kate's love interest, but would get absolutely no character development and zero shared screen time with Kate, and that their relationship would be revealed in a single piece of throwaway dialogue so that they could just remove it and dub in this this random dude's name for foreign markets. Congratulations! You win absolutely nothing for your basic pattern recognition skills because you're beginning to understand Hollywood's cynical manipulation of a community that's desperate to be portrayed as people rather than walking libidos with sassy attitudes, but only in such a way that they can be easily thrown away like trash when it impacts their bank accounts. Isn't corporate allyship so f***ing special?
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
So it turns out Kate and her dad don't really get along these days, and the reason given is that he had to give up on his dream in the past, and he's afraid that she might not make it as a filmmaker and doesn't want her to feel the same pain of failing in your passion. Which would be a really impactful message if it wasn't revealed that the reason he gave up on his dreams in the first place was so that he could f***ing raise her. It just kind of feels like they approached the moral backwards. They also don't explain why he had to give up on his dream of living in the cabin he built anyway, since no reason's given why they couldn't raise a kid in the house that he literally custom built from the ground up. Clearly he has the skills required to make it safe for a child if he built the thing in the first place, but alright, sure, why not? Anyway, after an incident in which Kate's dad accidentally breaks her laptop because they were having a passive-aggressive off, they get into a big fight, and in an attempt to fix their relationship, he cancels her flight to LA and loads the family up for a road trip to bring her to college rather than just bringing her to the airport. This actually could have been a pretty cool setup if it weren't for the fact that it sort of just reveals that every single one of these people is a shitty person. Kate is hell-bent on being miserable and tormenting her dad the entire time, and the only time she says anything nice to him, she immediately turns around and tells her brother she didn't actually mean any of it and was just placating him. The dad continually puts his family in danger with his horrible decisions, and the mom doesn't really do anything but obsess over how much better the neighbor's family is than her family. And the brother, well, he's actually okay. Mostly. There's this one part where they go to a dinosaur-themed attraction and he freaks because the dinosaurs aren't scientifically accurate, but the only example they could come up with is that they should have feathers. Yeah, they repeat this point multiple times throughout the movie and in several different scenes at several different points in the film. It's like they wanted to show that he's a dinosaur expert but only read one dinosaur fact and forgot to look up anything else. Like the fact that the dinosaurs being shown together existed at totally different times and never interacted. Do your research. Oh yeah, also there's a dog that only exists to be the butt of jokes because it's a pug and pugs are ugly and stupid. That's it. That's the joke. So while the family's traveling, there's this big Apple iPhone-style tech reveal where this Steve Jobs stand-in reveals his brand new AI robots that are somehow meant to replace cell phones. Because having a fully autonomous 6-foot-tall humanoid constantly follow you around is 100% more convenient than a small plastic rectangle that fits in your pocket. Anyway, this reveal makes the AI in his phone jealous, and she takes over the robots and makes them capture everyone on Earth with plans to launch them into space. She also has her robots beat the out of not Steve Jobs, and the violence is bizarrely visceral and weighty. Like it's cartoony, but you can feel the impact. We also get one of only 2 scenes in the whole movie that made me laugh.
You can give me a single reason your species is worth saving.
Because humans have the power of love.
I could watch these entitled Silicon Valley heads get nut shot with a steel shin all f***ing day. Never gets old. If you're curious, this is the other scene that made me laugh.
Oh, it's just us humans, with our very human faces. My human guy name is Eric.
My name is also Eric. No, I mean Deborah. Bot 5,000.
Idiot.
Yeah, my sense of humor is deeply broken. So anyway, the robots sweep in and start kidnapping everyone until only the Mitchells are left. Now, the dad wants to barricade the windows and doors and lie low, but Katie wants to go out and try to save everyone, and she convinces him to try by giving him a speech about not giving up and relating it to the time he brought an opossum home as a pet and it gave them all rabies. Which, opossums are borderline incapable of carrying rabies. Their body temperature is significantly lower than other mammals, which makes them terrible hosts for a virus which can't survive if their environment isn't exactly right. Do your fucking research. Anyway, the family meets 2 malfunctioning robots who are the best characters in this movie, hands down. These guys are hilarious, and they tell them there's a kill code that can be uploaded from the nearby phone store in the mall. Unfortunately, everything in the store that has a chip made by that same tech company comes to life and tries to kill them. How exactly they're ambulatory is another discussion altogether, but I don't want to nitpick a cartoon any more than I already am. So the Wi-Fi gets severed before the kill code upload can be completed, so the family disguises themselves as robots to infiltrate the enemy base and destroy the rogue phone directly. Unfortunately, they don't seem to understand that a hyper-intelligent AI with direct access to any and all Wi-Fi-enabled machines and servers could just back itself up to one or multiple machines and probably wouldn't be housed on just that one phone. Fortunately, the writers didn't think of that either, because destroying this one phone actually completely works in the end, but I am getting ahead of myself. First, we have to have that inevitable scene where the mean things Katie says about her dad comes to light and he loses hope and gets captured. Because because we just can't have a movie without this scene in it. I don't know, I think it's against the fucking law or something. I mean, it's not that this particular trope is that bad. I mean, even Lord of the Rings had a part where Sam and Frodo had a falling out. But, I don't know, in this movie it just feels like it's there just to be there. Like in the scene where Katie says these things about her dad, it was just so obvious that this is what they were telegraphing. Anyway, the parents get captured by the machines, and while in the little holding cell, the dad just happens to be put behind the guy who invented the AI in the first place, who also just happens to be a fan of Katie's YouTube channel, causing him to have an epiphany about the value of art, giving him the motivation to escape. The mom also escapes independently, all on her own, despite not having the tech guy there to explain how, and the two go to hijack the computer screens in order to upload one of Kate's videos that's been shown to confuse the robots so they crash. The mom goes berserker rage mode and kills a bunch of robots with her bare hands, which makes you wonder why she doesn't just keep doing that, while the dad has to overcome his fear of technology to get the video up, and with the power of family, plot contrivance, and a hefty dose of Deus Ex Machina, they succeed in destroying the evil cell phone and saving humanity. Actually, the thing that gets them out of a tight jam in the end, no joke, is the two busted robots from before getting reprogrammed by the bad guy to hunt the family, and then seeing the dad trying to use a computer, which makes them go, oh, he hates computers, but he's learning to use them, so we can just do what he's doing and not obey our programming. Never mind the fact that they had no way or reason to know that he hates computers in the first place. Anyway, just like that, the world is saved, and Katie goes off to college, where everything goes absolutely wonderfully, and no one ever has any problems ever again in the end. Actually, I do really enjoy the no doubt accidental message of, hey, you're not really a nonconformist, you just haven't found the right group to conform to yet, that the ending seems to blurt out, but the fact that it probably wasn't on purpose is a little bit disheartening. Yeah, this was a pretty average movie. I think maybe I'm a bit burnt out on this overly rounded animation style that's so popular now, but I did really appreciate the way it's blended with 2D hand-drawn animation effects and even some live-action images here and there. It's really cool to look at sometimes, but it can also be a little bit jarring and oversaturated here and there. At best, it looks like a really well-done and lovingly crafted piece of animation, and at its worst, it looks like that one Grubhub ad that everyone hated. I mean, did anyone else notice this? That it's basically the exact same style everyone hates, just with a different filter placed over it, and suddenly it's amazing? Just me? Okay, never mind. Like I said before, the movie also keeps interrupting itself to throw out some random, haha, it's funny because it was random freeze frame or meme that was popular 10 years ago, and like most movies revolving around modern technology and internet humor, it instantly dates the whole thing, and it can get a little grating at times. Actually, a huge chunk of this movie's humor is just kids dumb because technology and adults dumb because no technology.
It's like a Journey album cover. What's an album?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because he's a kid. Do you get it? It's funny because he's a kid, and kids don't know what albums are, because no one uses the word album anymore, right? How would he know what an album is? Hilarious. There's also some weirdly clunky exposition that really serves no purpose. For example, this girl enters a scene and says,
I'm Abby, your neighbor from home.
But she's already been introduced to the audience as the neighbor, and the kid knows who she is. They've met before. Were they afraid we were too stupid to remember who she was? I mean, she was introduced 2 scenes earlier. Like I said at the beginning, this movie's getting rave reviews, and I don't want to shit all over anyone's parade, and I actually don't think the people saying this movie is good are necessarily wrong. It really can be a pleasant movie to watch. I think the accolades it's getting serve more as an indictment of the state of the film industry that will take anything with some entertainment value and latch onto it like it's the second coming of movie Jesus. Honestly, it's depressing to me because I really want to believe that we, as an audience, deserve better. That we deserve movies that challenge us and make us think. Movies that tell us exciting stories from new perspectives and that are capable of causing us to reframe how we look at the world. But we don't deserve better because we keep accepting the same exact plot put into a shiny new sack and shit out all over our TVs over and over and over, and we just eat it up every time like the good little consumers we are. I really, really wanted to like this movie, and I still don't have anything at all against the people who made it or the people who like it. Like I said, I was originally going to write this movie a great review right up until I sat down and started writing, and I realized I'd just been suckered into a false sense of approval by the bright lights and high-paced action. If this is your new favorite film, that's nothing to be ashamed of, and my thoughts on the subject shouldn't ruin something you love. Honestly, it is a fun little film with some, at times, impressive animation and acting, and a couple fun and interesting moments, but it's just so the same. It's the same movie we've gotten several times a year for the last decade with slightly sparklier sunglasses on, and that, to me, is the worst thing it could have been because it just cemented to me how much of a rancid standstill the industry has reached that will immediately slurp up whatever's tossed to us out of the stagnant cesspit that is the Hollywood creative well, provided the chunks of festering pus and fecal matter in a slightly different order and the cup is a new shape. All in all, It's a pretty, if slightly over-animated movie with a cliched plot, easily predictable character arcs, and the type of humor 50-year-old studio executives think is hip with the youths these days. In short, it's a f***ing masterpiece. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time.